How's it going, everybody, and welcome back to another First Descendant video. Now today we're going to be going over one of the most important things in the First Descendant, and that's going to be the mods that you should be focusing on when getting into the game. Now I know when you get into a game like the First Descendant, especially if you're not coming from a game like Warframe or anything similar, it can be very overwhelming trying to understand all these mods, how they work, which ones you want to invest into because everything is so expensive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to help you guys understand where it's safe to invest your Kuiper and your gold so that these mods can be carried into the end game, so that way you're not worried about having to scrap a mod that you spent 100,000 plus Kuiper on. So without wasting any more time, let's jump straight into it. So first we're going to start by explaining the sub-module slot. If I remove this, you see at the bottom left in this gold slot it says sub-module. Now all sub-modules are malachite, which is a socket type, and if you look at my Volby here, now keep in mind I have an extra one because I used a crystallization catalyst on her, but you would come with two. If you match a mod to these specific symbols, so if I take this malachite symbol here and I put it in here, it now costs 8 instead of the 15 that it costs usually. So it's important to note that all of these sub-modules are malachite, because if you go down here and I switch this to malachite, you'll see that all of them are. So you have your choice in which one you want to use. Now, the preferred ones to use, in my opinion, but are very expensive, are the gold submodules, such as the long distance maneuvering, and there's some other ones. We type in maneuvering here. Get rid of the malachite. So I have long distance maneuvering and midair maneuvering. These are two of the best, and they modify your grapple to work in different ways. This one gives me 2 longer ranged grapples when it's maxed out, but it does cost a lot more Kuiper and gold to max out. And midair maneuvering allows you to grapple onto thin air and just grapple the air, but you get 1 charge, and once again, does cost a lot of Kuiper and gold to upgrade, but these are going to be probably your best in slot for sub-modules. The reason for that being, these are utility and sub-attacks are not very strong at the moment, and unless you're building into a sub-attack or you really just want to punch things, these are going to be your best bet to go with. So you would want to pick which one you like if you want the extra distance or you want the midair. Most people opt for the midair maneuvering because you can literally grapple onto nothing and just get that speed boost no matter where you are. Both are great options and completely up to you. The submodule stat is very nice to have upgraded and can be safely upgraded because when you slot in a submodule stat, as you can see here I have 48 capacity. But if I put my submodule in, I now have 58. It's 10 capacity, and this is determined based on the level in which you have it upgraded. So if you see here, I slotted in a non-upgraded submodule. This goes for all of them, and it's giving me 0 because I do not have it upgraded. But slotting in a max rank gives you 10. So you can always safely dump Kuiper and gold into the submodule that you desire, but I would make sure that it is the one that you want to use because again, these gold ones are fairly expensive to upgrade. Now moving on from submodules, we're going to have all of the base modules. Now I will likely refer to these as mods from time to time, so keep that in mind that it is the same thing, it's just shortened for modules. Just want to make sure so I don't confuse anybody. Now we're going to start with the first mod that is recommended for almost all Descendants, and I almost always try to slot into any build that I make, and that's going to be increased HP. Increased HP gives you a max HP of plus 218.5%. This is especially strong on Descendants that have a high base stat of health, and really quickly I'll show you that. If you open up your Descendant and you press tab, you'll see here the level 40 stat info of the character in which you're playing, even if you're not level 40. So Volby has a high max HP. This is one of her higher stats at 40. So putting that 218% HP is very nice. Now this is very nice on all Descendants. It just has a increased effect on Descendants with a higher base HP. But with HP and defense being the two best survivability tools in the game right now, increased HP is always nice to slot into your builds to give you that extra survivability. Next, we're going to talk about the cooldown mod Nimble Fingers. Now, Nimble Fingers is great to slot into a majority of builds because you get a 25.6% cooldown, and 25.6 is a good bit of cooldown. Now, there is a lot of Descendants that require cooldown because they rely on their abilities and their ability interactions. However, if you're playing a Descendant that does not require cooldown, obviously you do not need to have Nimble Fingers, but I would still recommend upgrading a Nimble Fingers or saying you can safely upgrade a Nimble Fingers to max because when you do decide to switch Descendants, there will 100% be a Descendant that uses this in their build. With that being said, Nimble Fingers is a great mod to upgrade and will be slotted in a lot of your builds. Some alternatives to Nimble Fingers, or probably the best alternative to Nimble Fingers, is going to be MP conversion. However, with MP conversion, you do lose a good portion of your MP. So if MP is a problem for you, or managing your MP is a problem on the Descendant you're playing, this won't have a place in your build because it'll make the MP management worse. But if you have no problems with MP and you just need that cooldown, then this is a mod that you would slot in because you get a 36.5% cooldown. Just keep in mind that although you do get the 36.5% skill cooldown, you do get the minus 15 to MP. Now the battle slot is filled usually by a master mod, which are probably the best mods for most cases to build into. Now take a look over here at Kyle. If you look under skill effect, it says the damage of this ability is skill power times blank percentage. In this case, it's 432.7%. If we move over to his other damaging ability, Magnetism Spurt, once again under the skill effect, you see it's skill power times a high percentage number. And then moving on to his fourth ability, his hardest hitting ability, Superconductivity Thrusters, once again we have the skill power times an insane number, and in this case 11,207.7. Now this is with mods on. So what I want you to note is that raw skill power is what is going to be increased when it says skill power X. Any modifier mods are going to add to the percentage after the skill power X. If I put on a tech or a non-attribute skill power modifier, so let me show you what that looks like really quickly. I don't want to get too off track here and make the video too long, but if I put on a skill power modifier mod, so let's just say right here, dimension, this is going to add 76.1% to that percentage of any skill using dimension. Now for Kyle, that would only be his second skill or his third skill. So this would add that percentage to the 702.8%, not multiply, but add. It's important to know that because you get very diminishing returns when you add a small percentage to a high percentage number. If this was something like 10% and you added it, it would be a much bigger boost. Now, I want you to keep that in mind because depending on the Descendant you're playing, you'll know whether to build into raw skill power or skill power modifier. I'll have a more in-depth guide on modules and how everything ties into each other coming out later. But for now, I wanted to bring this up because I think it's important for people to know so you're not investing your Kuiper in gold into a mod that's boosting something that's getting diminishing returns. Now, after going into that discussion, we're actually going to move on to the battle mods. So the battle mod you would usually slot in for most cases is going to be a blank master, so non-attribute, electric, chill, fire, depending on what you're trying to boost. So again, in Volbe's case, it would be non-attribute, and you can see that by hovering over the abilities. It tells you at the top, right above the ability, every single one is non-attribute. So somebody like Blair would be fire, and somebody like Sharon would be elec. Now these master mods are great to build into and you safely be invested into because you get a raw skill power boost and a attribute skill power boost. Now these are not modifiers, these are actual skill power increases. There are cases where you'd want to build into the modifier. I just went over all that previously. And if you're still not understanding everything I'm saying or what I explained previously, feel free to use the comment section and ask me anything you like, or check if I'm live over on twitch.tv/EEFANN. You can ask me questions there and I can answer live as well. So the master mods can be safely invested into, and you want to match them to the Descendant in which you're currently playing. And once again, these are great because you get a boost to your skill power and a boost to the attribute skill power in which you're modding for. Now to cover two mods that are kind of a staple in a lot of builds, we're going to go over skill extension and skill expansion. First, we're going to start with skill extension. Skill extension gives you a 36.5% skill duration, and it says it applies only to certain skills for each Descendant. Now this does show you in this chart over here what is being boosted. So for cleanup, you see we have a duration of 5.3 seconds. I throw on a skill extension. I will have to back out here, save it, go back into my modules. Now you'll see that we have a 7.1 second duration. This will show you with green numbers what duration is being boosted when you have this mod on. That way you can understand what abilities are and are not being affected by skill extension. From my experience, most of them do get affected. Now moving on to skill expansion. Skill expansion states skill effect range plus 92.3% applies only to certain skills for each Descendant. Once again, this can be seen in the graph. So if I go put in skill expansion, save it, go back to my modules, you'll see that my range is being increased from 2 meters by 2 meters to 3.8 by 3.8. Once again, the green numbers will show you exactly what's being increased so you know what's being affected and what is not. Now we'll talk about one of my favorite mods in the game, and that's going to be Spear and Shield. Now Spear and Shield is one of my favorite mods in the game because you get a huge defense boost, and you also get a skill power boost, a raw skill power boost of 8.1%. Now this is great because raw skill power is very strong and defense is also very strong. So combining the two in a mod like this is what makes it so valuable. I try to fit this into every single build that I use because, again, the defense is valuable on every Descendant, and the skill power never hurts usually as well, unless you're going for a weapon platforming build in which you would dump skill power, but that's a very niche use, and there will be very particular mods you use in a build like that. But for any ability-based build, this is going to be very, very nice to slot in. So if you're an ability-based Descendant, this is definitely something you want to upgrade and try to slot into your build. And while on the topic of defense, we move on to the blue mod, Increased Defense. Now, Increased Defense is nice, again, because the defense and the HP are the highest scaling defensive abilities. So if you're looking for survivability, modding into defense and HP is going to make you a tank in this game. Shield is very, very bad in the first Descendant right now, so avoid modding for shield until it's fixed. But to this date right now, shield is a useless thing to mod into. HP and defense are your go-to for modding in terms of survivability. And we're going to finish this list off really quickly. We're going to go over time distribution. Now, time distribution gives you that cooldown that I was talking about. That's very important for a lot of ability-based Descendants, but you also get a 52.4% max HP as well. This is on top of the increased HP, and if you for some reason can't fit an increased HP, which I highly recommend you do, but if you cannot, then a time distribution might be something good to opt for because at least you get that 52.4%, and HP is very strong. So this is another one of those mods that you can slot in, and it doesn't conflict with any of your main build mods because it's a control mod. So there shouldn't be any issues with slotting trying to get this into your build other than maybe capacity issues. But if you're looking for a little more cooldown and a little more HP, time distribution is great. Now really quickly, just to give you guys some additional info or some additional mods that you could slot in, they're not must-haves, but could be must-haves for your build. These are a couple ultimate mods that could improve your build based on the way you're playing. So first we have MP Collector. Now when you upgrade MP Collector all the way, costing you 22,200 Kuiper, 222,000 gold, you're going to get, when defeating an enemy, instantly recover 12.2% of max MP at a 17% chance. Since this is a relatively cheap mod to upgrade, this can be fit into builds that are having problems with MP management, and it is a very nice mod. And for the second ultimate mod I would recommend, this is for weapon platforming or people that like to use weapons. You have improved Driveshaft. When rolling, firearm attack plus 21.8% for 5 seconds at a 15% chance. This is one away from being upgraded, but this mod could also be very good for Descendants that like to use their weapons or players that just like to use weapon damage rather than ability damage. And you're rolling a lot in the first Descendant, especially when you're avoiding mechanics or just for movement in general. So getting this 21.8% firearm attack is just a nice little boost to the extra damage you get from your weapon. And that's pretty much going to do it for this guide for mods and what you should get. There are a ton of other great mods out there, and there may even be a couple that I missed, but I didn't want to make the video too insanely long, and I also wanted to make this very easy to digest because I know that this can be overwhelming looking at all these mods, and with Kuiper being such a limited resource, or the time you have to invest to get a lot of Kuiper, I know that a lot of people would like to see mods that are very safe to invest into. With that being said, coming out soon will be a weapons and a weapon module guide as well, letting you know which weapons are worth farming or investing into in terms of crystallization catalysts or energy activators, and which mods you want to slot into your weapons, which ones are safe to upgrade when you're going through the game. And that'll be a similar list to this, giving you all the mods that you can safely upgrade to bring into the end game. Thank you guys all so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, cares, or concerns, feel free to use the comment section, or like I said, I may be live over on twitch.tv/EEFANN. You can go hang out with us over there, ask some live questions, or just see what I'm up to. I also do viewer help, so if you ever need help on a boss fight or you're just struggling, I do go in every once in a while when I'm not too busy to help people pass some bosses that they just can't get past. As I mentioned in my previous video, I am a part of the Nexon Content Creator Program, so if you'd like to support further than YouTube and Twitch, you can click the link in the description and support me beyond YouTube and Twitch. However, if not, that's 100% okay. But I appreciate you guys all very much. That'll be all for me, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.